if you are a storyteller and a brain chemist, and this is how your clients buy. You see, I get messages like, hey Latika, can I do this story selling thing? I'm not so good at communication. I'm not good at telling stories. I do not have a very good vocabulary or English or even any other language. I'm not so fluent. It's ridiculous because in any case, you are a storyteller, an innate storyteller. And I know that because you have a brain, and a particular part of your brain is called the cortex, whose job is to simulate the future. And it simulates stories in the future like, hey, if I say this to my manager, he will say this back to me, and then I will feel like this, and then I'll tell my friends, and this will happen. Yeah? Your cortex also has the task of replaying the past, and that too very often, if you notice, especially when anything bad happens, anything negative. So my manager told me this, I replied with that, and then he said something else, and I felt a certain way, and then I told my friends about it, and this happened. Rings a bell? And this specific pattern in your brain is also designed to prepare you for the future. You tell hundreds of these stories every single day, don't you? So, yes, you are a storyteller, a professional storyteller. Now, this is an art that only humans have. Animals communicate only for two things, either the food or danger. Yes, mating too. But we can talk about imaginary future, things that aren't even tangible yet. So the only thing you need to move is these stories from your head, from your brain to the other people's brains. And that will make you an effective story seller. You already are a storyteller. You just need to share your stories with others. So let's understand that there's another important element of storytelling. You can view your brain through three different layers, three different perspectives. And anatomically also, the brain has the three kinds of brains: the reptilian brain, the oldest brain that, we have, and the logical brain and the emotional brain. So you have instincts, you have emotions, and you have logic. Now, when you look at the decisions you have taken in life, any decision, or will ever take in the future, right? You will notice that they are all driven by instincts or emotions. The logical part is about reasoning the outcomes between the two options that you feel, the two tasks that you feel. For example, think about any decision making that you have to do. So you always wait, like, if I do this, I will feel less stressed. If I do this, I will feel more stressed. If I make this choice, I'll be less popular. If I make that choice, I'll be more popular. If I do this, I'll be less wealthy. If I do that, I'll be wealthier. So you're constantly weighing your emotions against each other. So if you know that we are driven by instincts and emotions, what does that mean? It means that when you want to persuade someone or move them in a particular direction, you have to move their emotions and instincts first. And that's the thing with storytelling. It's incredible. It's the only tool on earth where you can practically, surgically inject any emotion into another person. Now, what we know about emotions today is that emotions are hormones, neuropeptides, neurotransmitters, and their concentration in the brain. Now, these hormones include serotonin, dopamine, oxytocin, endorphin, cortisol, adrenaline, and so on. And let's look at some of the effects of these hormones. So, endorphin related stories induce laughter. Dopamine induces drive, motivation, action. Oxytocin stories, connection, compassion, trust. Serotonin stories, pride, strong endings. Testosterone stories, power, victory, right? Now, depending on who, who are your audience, what action do you want them to take, you will be using these hormones, these emotions accordingly, right? The amazing thing is that you can add oxytocin in your story and tell the story and produce those emotions in others, directly impacting their decision making. And there's no other tool as powerful as storytelling when it comes to that effect. Now, I want to just refer to the example that we did in the last session, wherein I told you a story about how I got an ERP project worth $60,000, 50 lakh rupees, in just about an hour long meeting, right? And if I talked about what were the hormones, what were the emotions induced in that conversation, was number one, oxytocin. Because the person there, the general manager, he lacked trust because there were hundreds of salespeople barging into the office like that, the way I did, and selling their products. And that's why he didn't even look at me properly. He didn't even give me a eye contact. So what I had to do was directly get into his pain points and make connection and make sense so that he could really trust me. And that was the first 10 minutes conversation all about. And then, because he had his guards up, so I also had to use a little bit of endorphin to induce a little bit of humor and laughter, which made him say, okay, please sit down, let's talk, right? So like I said, depends on who are you speaking to, what action do you want them to take, and in later sessions you will understand what objections or resistance do they have that you need to help them navigate, right? So when you tell this compelling story, you bypass all the resistance and go straight to the heart of the decision making process. So no convincing, no manipulation, just connection, right? Now that you know about your innate natural power, natural superpowers, let me give you a skill set that is so unbeatable, that is based on human psychology. And when you combine your empathy and passion to serve, you are going to create magic. Meet you in the next session.